Level 989.
Welcome to a 989 on Health Extra. These quick supplements should help ease any withdrawal symptoms you may experience while waiting for our next full episode. So, Mike, what's on today's agenda?
We've received another great topic request from a listener. This week's question is, I have asthma and I'm always surprised by how little the average person knows about what to do in an asthma emergency. Can you spread the word on how to help out a person in need? It would be my pleasure. First of all, let's do a few quick asthma facts. Spelling. Asthma is spelled A-S-T-H-M-A. And if you're wondering why it's such a weird word, well, it's Greek for panting. Asthma is a disease of the lungs where the airways are inflamed, swollen, and narrowed. As you might guess, this makes it harder to breathe and results in wheezing, coughing, and shortness of breath. The irritated tissues of the airways can produce extra mucus, making it even harder to breathe. You know me, I'm just an average Joe. I always thought that asthma was pretty much dealt with by the occasional puff on the inhaler. Puff, puff, all set, woo! I mean, all I knew came from watching TV shows, right? Well, TV did a bad job of teaching me about the realities. Asthma often does bad things to those who have it. Like any disease, there's something of a spectrum of severity when it comes to symptoms. Long-term, things can be hard for asthma sufferers. It varies depending on the person, but decades of damage to the airways and diminished lung function make these patients at a higher risk of repeated respiratory infections. There's no cure for asthma, and we're still not even exactly sure what causes it. Allergies might play a role, and the issues for patients typically begin during childhood. Now this is interesting. More boys have asthma than girls, but in adulthood, more women are impacted than men. Depending on each patient's individual risk factors or triggers, they'll probably have a personalized, written asthma action plan of steps to follow and drugs to take to prevent an attack before it happens, or to help rescue them during an attack. You may find this written action plan in the carrying case they have for their asthma inhaler. Alright, now in this age of the glorious internet, you'd think I would just Google asthma emergency and immediately be offered an easy reference checklist of steps to perform in just such an emergency. Instead, I was presented with a series of articles that were rambly, vague, and unhelpful, choked with advertising, pop-up surveys, and links to watch a video. I don't want to watch your stupid video, with some ad up front to buy a new car, no doubt, while someone in the room with me is having a possibly fatal asthma attack. I mean, imagine this person's flailing their arms around, making horrible wheezing sound, and I'm helpless and useless, wasting precious time while I try to clear some pop-up ad from my phone. That is not good. It took me an unfortunate amount of time to find a good, helpful article about how to help a person out during an asthma attack. Now let this be a reminder for anyone out there with asthma or knows someone with asthma. Take the time while everything's just fine to ask them how they need you to act, what you should do in the case of an asthma attack. Do some drills and practice what needs to be done if the person having the attack is incapable of speaking, or they might even be incapable of nodding and pointing. Keep in mind that the actions needed may vary depending on the patient. Two people with asthma may take different medications, have different triggers, have mild or severe symptoms, and require different help. Don't assume that the steps to help one person are the same as to help another person. Instead, take the time to drill the proper steps with each person you know who suffers from asthma. After a bunch of time searching, a fatal amount of time really if there was someone with me who couldn't breathe, the article that I found that was actually helpful was at wikihow.com, and the link will be in the show notes as usual. The article is titled, How to Help Someone Having an Asthma Attack, and it has been reviewed by an expert in the field. It's a great article, and I strongly recommend that all of you check it out. Now, if there's anyone out there with a better resource, a better link, please send it in, and I'll be very happy to add it to the show notes as well. So, according to WikiHow, step 1 is call an ambulance if the inhaler isn't working or the person can't breathe. You want to make sure the person is sitting up straight. You're going to try to keep them calm, as they're likely to panic, which is only going to make things worse. Even if they've been through this many times before, a shortage of oxygen triggers an automatic sense of panic in the body that's very difficult to fight. It's hard to logic your way out of such a state. Step 2 is recognize an asthma attack. This step seems a little out of order to me personally, but sure, why not? So, does the person have difficulty speaking, breathing? Are they wheezing, coughing? Do they seem to be panicking? Is there a blue tinge to their lips or a blue tinge to their fingernails? Even if it's someone you know, they may have never told you about their asthma. So ask them, do you have asthma? And they might not be able to speak. They may only be able to nod in response. Step 3 is remain calm. Don't freak out. If you panic, it's only going to make the person suffering an attack feel worse. Encourage them to sit up straight, take slow, deep breaths, reassure them that they're going to be okay. You're going to stay with them. Step 4 is confirm that the person wants help. Again, this step seems a bit out of order, but you may encounter a stranger having an asthma attack, and you shouldn't assume they want your help. You would approach them calmly, introduce yourself quickly, and offer to help them. Be sure to ask permission before touching them. Step 5 is, if the person can talk, ask them about their action plan. The action plan can include details about how to help them, where their medication is kept, and if or when to call for emergency services, and important details like what's helped relieve their symptoms in the past, what their specific triggers or allergies are. If you're in a crowded, stressful area, it might help to move them to a quieter, calmer area. Okay, so in the article, those first 5 steps are grouped in the section called Initiating Help. The next section's called Providing Medical Assistance. And so we're starting over with the new Step 1. Step 1. Retrieve the medicine for them. If you know where the medicine is kept, go fetch it quickly. But hey, let's make this more difficult, shall we? A person with asthma may have more than one type of inhaler, with different medications or different strengths. And these inhalers, they're not all the L-shaped inhalers from back in the day. Some are round, disc-shaped devices. The round ones might even be mistaken for retractable measuring tape if you didn't know better. You'll find a link to inhaler photos in the show notes. One type of inhaler is for maintenance or a controller, which is for everyday use. And there's a different type known as a preventer, and still another type called a reliever or a rescue inhaler that will hopefully relieve an asthma attack that's in progress. The different types of inhalers are often color-coded, green, orange, or yellow, depending on what they do. But this can vary by manufacturer, so I don't want to tell you blue is always this and green is always that. Also, what about blue-green colorblind folks who have asthma? Many folks carry an instruction card with their inhaler, and some inhalers even have a QR code. For those who don't know, QR codes are those funky, square, barcode-looking things you can scan with your phone, and that'll take you to a web page. Alright, where was I? You grab their medication for them. Step 2. Help them take their medicine if they can't do it alone. Even if they're not incapacitated, they might not be calm enough to do it. If you have to assist, shake the inhaler and place the mouthpiece between their lips. You should tell them you're about to give the medication, so they can know when to take a deep breath. Well, as deep as they can. It depends on the medication the inhaler is delivering, but typically, the person will take 1 to 2 puffs of the inhaler every 2 minutes, until their symptoms get better or they've had 10 puffs. Next up is an instruction I'm uncomfortable with. Even me, being an ignorant layperson, I'm not sure about this. So the WikiHow article says, quote, using their own inhaler is ideal, but using someone else's inhaler may be better than having no medicine at all. If they don't have their inhaler, but you do, or someone else does, it's okay to use that inhaler in an emergency. End quote. You know, that surprises me. I mean, you wouldn't want to stand by while someone suffocates, but I've never read a suggestion to share prescription drugs before. It might be a life and death emergency, but still, I'm surprised. Shows what I know. Alright, everything else after the intake of medication is pretty standard and common sense. Keep them calm, ask if there's anything else you can do, make sure they're sitting upright, remind them to take long, deep breaths, remove any restrictive clothing, keep them away from smoke, chemical smells, offer them some coffee or tea, as caffeine helps dilate the airways, and suggest a hot shower or bath, as some folks find steam helpful to relieve congestion and airway irritation. It's probably silly to say, but I thought this was going to be a very short episode. I mean, how complicated could an asthma attack possibly be, I thought? Well, I thought wrong, and I'm sure there's even more complexity than I talked about. So remember to talk to your friends, family, and coworkers with asthma, and work with them to be prepared to help out should they have an asthma attack. You could save their life someday. Thanks again to our great listeners for sending in suggestions. If you'd like to send in your own topic for consideration, head on over to level989.com/contact and make it so.
That's all for now. You can find links to read more about today's topics at level989.com. Why not take a moment to rate or review us in iTunes, or give us a mention on social media? We can't help everyone if they don't know we exist. Don't rely on us as an alternative to medical advice from a professional healthcare provider. For the full disclaimer, please see our website. Thanks for listening, and now, go health yourself.